What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is the show where you teach you to make massive income, not just passive income with your real estate investing business. If it is your first time here today, this is the Mike and Dan show where I, Mike DeHaan, with my co-host here, Dan Austin. We talk about real estate investing and whatever else we feel like for the week. And it kind of just varies from time to time. And we are coming fresh into this episode after a little week away. If you listened to last week's episode, we kind of talked about where we were and the things we're doing. I was on a trip and Dan was at a conference. And so we're going to be diving back into some business sort of scaling talk. And we have some interesting things, like I said, dive into today, because every time you go on a trip, if you're a business owner, it's a perfect excuse to kind of like test the, I would say, like the balance of your business, right? Or like find the leaks. And it's a hard thing to, I guess, let happen, right? When you're an entrepreneur and you first start traveling, I feel like there's kind of the Instagram traveling entrepreneur where they're like on their phone by the pool the whole time and all those different things, which does happen like a little bit, right? But I also think that if you're intentional about like kind of just letting the business run, that's how you actually like learn what you need to improve on, even though it can be hard. Right?
Let the systems fail, let the people fail.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and
to a certain extent, right?
To a certain extent. I mean, like when you're small, you need to be more, I would say, like cognizant to it, because realistically,
you don't want someone to drop a $35,000 contract that's going to feed your family for the next month.
Yeah.
Like, don't let them fail that bad.
Yeah. Which when you're first starting out can absolutely happen. But when you have a little bit of scale with your business, then you have a little more flexibility to kind of like let things run their course. And so past couple trips I've taken, I've been kind of intentional about being as involved as little as possible. And on this one, it was a good test because this was also the first like full trip where we were both gone, where we also had someone internal on a team running the sales team, and like actually running the day-to-day meetings, making sure that the entire process we're going through, running all the transactions. And it was a great testament to show that when mom and dad are away, the kids do indeed fuck around.
The mice will play. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do fuck around.
Yeah. And so, we got to come back and I got to have a really fun conversation with everybody yesterday about like, what were they doing? Because stuff still got done, but like the effort of everyone was definitely encroaching on like that bare minimum to unacceptable on some days range.
Here's I guess what I don't want to like. Here's what I don't understand in general about humans. If you're in a role where commission is how you mark your success, how you feed your family, and is directly correlated to doing certain tasks, you would think that those tasks are the ones you would do. But I guess in the world, for the average person, they still just fuck off, whether they have a salary or they're commission based, right? I mean,
yeah,
because you and I see this time and time again, not just in our team, but this is a challenge for any sales manager. Is like, how can I get my sales guys to do the right thing? And it's like, it makes no sense because their incentives are aligned with them doing the right thing.
You'd think so, right? And it's funny too, because like you can say that there's like this line where everyone has a line in their life where when they start making that amount of money, they're going to kind of coast. And for most people, realistically, that's like $8,000 to $12,000 a month, right? You're making $100,000 to $150,000 a year. Most people are very happy with that and won't work that much harder. Mm-hmm. But the thing that's so weird to me is when it comes to like sales people, is they can have that lined up for a month, but if they stop working, they're not going to make that next month. You think that they would know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's not like a salaried role where you're going to be getting that consistently. But as soon as they like kind of have those commissions sort of like lined up for them, like clockwork, half of them will go and just be like, cool, I'm just going to wait until I'm starving to death again. And then they start putting in the work. But the problem is, as a business, you obviously can't have that. And, it was a really interesting thing to like sort of be thinking about, especially on my flight back. And I was aware that this was happening by kind of the end of the week while I was gone, because our team member, Matt, who was running everything, he kind of let me know that there were some challenges. And it was great because it gave me like 72 hours to kind of just like think about what I wanted to do. Because my initial inclination, as you'd expect, was to start hitting people up and be like, hey, what the fuck? Like, come on, guys.
Go home. We're done.
Yeah.
with
Well, I was like, I even thought about, I was like, should I just like call some of them and like fire them tomorrow?
Right.
I was like, I don't want to do that. I'll wait till he gets back.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, do we need to like restructure how they report their work? Do we need to redo the KPI expectations, all these different things? And after 72 hours and a long flight across the country, I basically came up with the idea of having a productive conversation around why they all think that this was a problem. And then now for the rest of the week, we get to have a conversation around what are we all going to do to prevent that from happening again? Mm-hmm. And they're going to be able to build their own solution. And whether or not it's going to be effective or not, I don't know. But I will tell you, yesterday, after they got their ass chewing in the morning, numbers were sky high, bro. Everyone got to work.
Everybody got on it. Yeah.
It's just, you just can't be doing that every like 3 weeks, right? Or every time that there's, the boss leaves the area for a little bit. And so, it's part of business, part of having humans. I will also say that if you have a sales team in a real estate business, especially an off-market real estate business, understand that they have a really hard job, right? Yes, like they are talking to the most pain in the ass people every single day, and is very like, you can get very jaded from it. They get abused on the phone. They have commissions that they're expecting that go sideways because of weird things. I mean, especially you Southeastern states, what are you guys doing down there?
Yeah. People just don't care, dude.
No, we have never had more like title and estate issues than in some of these Southeastern states we're in right now. Do we have stuff right now where there's like 9 people on title because there was such little estate planning done over the past generations, and now somebody like the great-great-grandmother or great-great-granddaughter wants to sell the house, and they're like, well, your 7th cousin who lives somewhere also has claim now. Yeah. Right. But those things are things that your sales team has to deal with. Right. And they start paying their bills in their head. And then the most unsolvable calculus problem of like family tree nonsense pops up, and they're not going to get that anymore. And it makes it a very difficult role to get excited.
There's a lot of ups and downs in a sales role, emotions, because you are tying your like livelihood to the sale of something. So it becomes challenging, but as a leader, the things that I do know from any leadership standpoint, especially when you're in a sales leadership position, is setting the expectations up front are absolutely key. So when we coach people on hiring their first acquisition manager, the first lead manager, the first employee, a lot of times where they end up kind of like falling short or having struggles is they didn't properly set the expectation. And sometimes it's honestly because they don't know the expectation. They don't know what it should be. And that's just a learning curve. You got to figure it out. And sometimes, unfortunately, your first employee is your test run on that. But setting the expectations and then being accountable, holding people accountable. So if people don't meet those expectations and they're reasonable, holding them accountable. And like one of the things that you were talking about, Mike, is like, here's the expectation. Why are you not meeting it? Like, help me help you, right? So that's the conversation, because sometimes you do miss your target, and sometimes there are actually things and there's reasons why your employees or your staff miss an expectation. It's because you had a wildly wrong expectation, or you told them to do 2 things and they had competing priorities. I see this a lot with VAs. People just dump random shit on their VA. I've been guilty of this. And eventually they don't even know it's a priority. So you're like, why didn't you do that on Monday? And you're like, well, they said that you told me this was a priority last week. And like, they're just doing too many things, and it's not easy for employees to manage. But the second one, the third point as a leader that makes it so you can hold people accountable, is being present. And that is very challenging in a virtual business, or in a business where you're an owner operator and you have employees as well, kind of side by side, where you're so busy that mentally and emotionally you're not present. But that presence is super key, so that we see with a lot of sales managers is like that dial time is like being present and available for that dial time, and watching and helping and coaching and that pump up sales shit. Like, that's why you see that. Yeah. And it's funny too, because when it's a virtual business, it feels really hard. And I mean, it's not, you kind of need to be like just more intentional about it. But different. It's amazing how many people that we've had in the Scale community, or that I've just talked to in general, that have virtual sales teams. They're like, oh yeah, we meet on Monday mornings. I'm like, what the fuck do you do the rest of the time? No wonder they're not performing. The other 50 hours in the week that you're working.
Yeah. And so that's like, we're really intentional to meet every single morning for that reason.
That's huge.
And then
to do that.
And then when you're small, it's easier to keep people accountable because you can sort of keep track of your own pipeline. Your lead flow is manageable. You have your ups and downs. Every deal is more important to you, so you're going to pay more attention to it. When you start to reach a point of scale, like where we're getting 600 to sometimes over 1,000 leads a month, like it is literally impossible for one person to monitor the entire pipeline. So we now enters a new challenge where you have the team that has to manage their own pipeline and they have to report on its effectiveness, right? And that's a whole different level of accountability that you have to have, an oversight that you have to have. And like the unfortunate thing is it leaves room for them to abuse the system if they want to. But if that does start to happen, that's when you have a personnel problem and not a system problem, right? Because at that point, they're crossing into malicious behavior and not just like ignorant behavior, right?
Totally.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you always know it's going to be something. I just always hate when it's on like the sales end of it because it's like the only solution is to go into hard conversations, which no one likes to have. Yeah. But unfortunately, as a business owner, as an employer, your job is literally to have hard conversations, be that with your team or with your customers who are unhappy with whatever reason, which will ultimately also happen if you have a business that has customers, which is the definition of a business. But, it's also how you get better, right? And so I'm hoping that over doing these calls with everyone individually over the next couple of days, we can come up with a plan that is mutually beneficial across everyone, put some new stuff in place starting next week, and hopefully it won't be an issue again. And if it does, then we'll just make some changes, and that is what it is.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be clear too, is like a lot of people, quick reactions, like I'm just going to fire people. And there is something to be said, right? Like, so given the opportunity to fail, people do fail. And by fail, I mean take advantage of the system or just kind of slide back into whatever's comfortable. So there's two perspectives. The one perspective is like, well, they've already done that once. They'll just keep doing that again. So just shit can them, get rid of them. And you see that kind of snap judgment made by a lot of people. They just fire people too fast. And we see people firing their acquisition manager the first week, 2 weeks, whatever. And sometimes it's needed. Like, I'm not saying don't do it. Like, don't drag something out because like fire fast is one of our things. But like that problem could be sometimes solved by sleeping on it. What I usually do is I like to sleep on things when I have an emotional response to something. I usually sleep on it. And if I have that same emotional response the next day, I sit back and I think even more about it. And then if I saw the emotional response, then I'm like, okay, there needs to be something done. But usually a good night's sleep or a restless night's sleep will make you think differently the next day.
Yeah, totally. And this is also the benefit of having like a business partner too, because if you do need to make hard decisions like that, I mean, I feel like you and me have never had like a thought that was going to lead to like a firing or like a major business change, something else where we weren't already both thinking about it and weren't already both mutually aligned on it, right? Because totally. If you're present in your business, you know what's going on. Like everyone knows what's going on. And literally every time I'm like, I think we need to get rid of this person. You're like, yeah, let's right. Like the one I think about is when we were in Lake Oconee for the GoBundance event, and we had to do this exercise where we all had to like basically rate the key people in our business. And there was one person in particular. It was funny. We both did it. We both picked the same people because we own the same business. And like literally right afterwards, you were like, hey, what did you rate this person? And I was like, oh, like a -2. And they were like, oh, I was -3. I was like, well, I guess we better fire them then.
Guess we know exactly what we're doing Monday morning.
Yeah. Didn't you wait till Monday? I think you did it Thursday.
Yeah, that's right. Because it was like midweek, right? It's like the day after we got back.
Yeah.
But I mean, and in those cases too, don't waste time. I've never, like, if you've already, now that you've made up your mind about terminating something, don't waste time.
No,
just do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Don't even like go into the conversation and be like, hey, how are you doing? Don't do that. Just be like, hey, I've got something we got to chat about. This is going to be pretty serious. You're not going to love, whatever you say to lead up to it, but just be like right into it. Don't try to do pleasantries. Don't, just rip the Band-Aid off because that's what they want. It's like when we talk about like seller negotiations, when you're trying to like lead up to the shitty price drop, just get to it. Mm-hmm. Don't give them the shit sandwich first.
Totally. I mean, and on that same point, right? Like a good way to think about this is the length of the conversation and the amount of like, I would say banter that you have should be 100% inversely related to how severe the conversation is. Like when you're going to fire somebody, it can very realistically be a 2 to 3 minute call. right? You don't need to
Usually
have
are.
any small talk. It usually is. You hop on, you're like, hey, so this is unfortunate. This is what's happening. If you're going to give someone like a lecture on something, or you're going to be like doing a disciplinary sort of conversation, right? That can be a 5 to 10 minute call. It doesn't need to be a 30-minute thing where you ask about how their kid's soccer game was before you tell them that they're sucking ass and need to pick it up, right? That should be faster.
Right.
You
Yeah,
can save that
totally.
for the monthly review where you talk about all the things that have been going well,
Yep.
right? And
Yep, exactly.
it's kind of like a uncomfortable thing almost, especially if somebody feels like they're being blindsided, which is also rare. I will say I don't think we have ever fired anybody and they did not know that it was coming. They didn't have some sort of suspicion.
Totally. Yeah. And that should hopefully be because you've had a few hard conversations with them leading up to that, saying, hey, you need to fix it. You've set the expectation and you've held them accountable, and they're not meeting that expectation. That friction that exists there is, they know it, they see it, they feel it.
Yeah. And I will say that if you ever fire somebody and they are 100% blindsided, that is poor leadership, because they should have probably had, some sort of warning signal, whether it was a chance to improve, an analysis of their performance, things like that.
Yep.
But yeah, it's part of the business. I mean, it's funny. We've talked about this before, but at this point now we have had like almost 70 people come through our business since we started, that we have brought in and fired between VAs and American-based people. Like that's like it's like a freaking bus full of humans, dude.
Have we ever had anybody quit? I'm trying to think.
We've had two people quit our company ever, which is crazy. Which was Ricardo.
Oh yeah,
right?
because he was moving.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only that, but like the business had evolved where it didn't really make sense for him anymore.
To have a dude fucking getting drunk during the day, flexing on camera.
Exactly.
We had evolved past that.
Yeah, we'd evolved past that. So it was Ricardo and then Koa, who was our sales guy.
That's right. Yeah.
Young Gen Z guy. I'm guessing he got a talking to about how, I don't know, he should be in a commission job, but he was crushing it. He had all these deals lined up, all these closings lined up.
He had like 10 G's in closings, I think.
Yeah, and he walked away to go and do something else. But those are the only two people that we've ever had quit, I'm pretty sure.
So, and they were both high performers, dude.
I know, they're both high performers. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Things just changed.
We weren't able to provide them what they felt they needed to receive in order to be successful. Yeah. So, yeah, but besides that, everyone else is fired. Well, I mean, to be fair too, our numbers asymmetrically skewed from when we had our third partner a couple of years ago, and when we asked it with him,
sales guys.
Yeah, we had a ton of people that followed him when we left, and so I don't know, between the sales guys and the VAs at that point, there was probably 8 or 9 people.
Yeah, I don't know that they initially all wanted to follow him, but they ended up following him.
They all ended up following him. Yeah. Well, I mean, they all departed at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we released them at the same time.
we released them. They went to the waiver wire or whatever it's called.
Yeah, whatever it was. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was our fun start to the week. But besides that, I mean, things have been moving. Like we have our new partnership.
We've been crushing here locally, dude. It feels so good to get back at it.
I know. We started up officially in Spokane with our new partner who used to be one of our main competitors here. They both did, and we'll have one of them on the show here in the next couple of weeks because he's just great personality. He's like really, really good at the sales side at a whole nother level. But it's awesome to I feel like it's the ultimate proof of concept when you can take, we have this partnership model that we've been doing forever in all these virtual markets for over 2 years now. We decided to just take it, plop it into our local market in Spokane, and immediately start closing deals.
Immediately.
Right? And we're going to be this is like our 3rd month doing it right now that we just went, and we're going to close 4 this month, I think. We already closed. We already had our first closing.
And we have, I think, 3 months of working so far.
Yeah, in 3 months, we're going to end up with 4 closings at the end of 3 months. Not even 3 full months. It's like 2 full months, but fat deals too. I'm super excited.
Yeah. We've got probably. I would imagine by the end of May we'll have well over 200,000 in fees, just wholesale fees, and really, and you say a few months, but really it's like 6 weeks of effort from everybody. I think we started marketing a while ago, but really spinning it up as we kind of approached the partnership, and the partnership kind of closed up and tied up.
Yeah.
So we've got so much runway to go ahead of us now that we're really full steam ahead.
Dude, I think we only started marketing again in March. It's currently middle of May. So it's only been 2 months and a bit.
Damn, you're right. Yeah.
Like it hasn't been that long.
Which I think
but
that's actually a good point, though. That speaks to the fact that like when we have people coming in and they're talking about like marketing and stuff, like we've had deals like locked up super fast in markets before, but like we started marketing in May. I think we started closing deals in April. Did we close our first deal in April?
Yeah, it was. It would have been last
Like 45 days, probably.
It was April 26th. I was in DC. So
that was our first one. Yeah. No, we closed one before that.
No, that was our first one.
I got a check in the mail, dog.
Yeah, that was on 26th. That was the check.
Maybe. Okay. So that's probably, that's like probably 45 days, do you think?
Total? Well, so from when we sent the first mail, it would have been March 1st. So it was about 8 weeks, about 2 months. To the first
we
closing.
We see about 45 days would be like an average, like quick, nice, like, oh, wow, you're closing a deal. That doesn't happen for people. That didn't happen for us. It was months for us. But we've refined our system, plopped in all these different markets, and did exactly what we say happens. We did it here in our local market. And guess what? It did. It happened. The marketing systems, you and I didn't do anything special. In fact, we didn't do anything.
No, we just had Robbie. We just had Robbie, who's on our team, who does all of our marketing for all of our partners for our partnership program. We just did the exact same thing that we do with all of those. And I think what the success comes down to is like knowing the market and being able to kind of make fast and competitive decisions. Right.
Very true. Honestly. That's a huge piece. Yeah. Being aggressive on just getting after it, going with your price, getting your underwriting done and locking it up.
Because I think that's where most people tend to get caught up is when the leads are coming in is they are slow to follow up with them. They're not making aggressive offers because they're kind of unsure about what really makes sense. And they aren't like pursuing things like a speed that needs to happen. I mean, we even see this with our partners right now all the time is a lead will come in and they won't get back to us with what they need the offer to be for like 72 hours. So like that one that we've already closed. We had the offer in and the contract signed within 48 hours of the deal coming in. We were super fast on that, right? And that makes such a huge difference. And I mean, it helps having Cody as our boots on the ground here because he responds to stuff immediately and is out at the house so fast.
Speed to lead. He gets it. That's the thing. He gets speed to lead so well.
Yeah. And people that come into this business and they're trying to like balance with other things like, oh, I can't miss my kid's soccer game, all sorts of stuff. That's great. Super noble. Good for you. You will lose deals to people like us, right? Who are going to be at the seller's house an hour after the lead comes in.
It's beyond even the kid's soccer game. It's like, oh, well, I need to finish this whatever at your computer. It's like, no, drop everything. Anything that has to do with sitting at a computer can be done at like 9 p.m.
Totally.
All your other shit, your sales calls. That's what I try to talk to like folks on the sales side of things is like all the operation stuff that has to happen because it's a business, but you got to get out there and meet with the clients. You have to be in front of people. You have to be selling and that's what happens during the time that people that want to be sold, like in our case, homeowners during the day, that's when they want to be done. And if it happens to be at 6 p.m., you go do it there then too. But the shoulder times are when you really dig in and do your strategy and your business growth work. Like that stuff's back burner because you want to be selling and revenue solves all problems.
It totally. And the thing is people use those businessy sort of tasks as like a productive procrastination tool because honestly doing those hard sales tasks, going out and walking the properties, being flexible to go and respond to something immediately is hard, right? And it feels super challenging to stay on top of that. So instead they go, oh, I'm going to mess around with my data. I'm going to dink around with a spreadsheet. I'm going to try out these new marketing templates. I'm going to do all these things from 10 to noon, which is like prime sales time.
Totally.
Like that is when you should be calling. Yeah. But instead people go and they put on their calendar bookkeeping, for 2 hours in the middle of the day. Do that before you go to bed.
I think I can make it out to your house by 2:30 today. It's like, no, dude. Here's what I would challenge you with. If you're running appointments is like, obviously speedily do what we just said, get out in front of these sellers as fast as you can. While you're driving there, call somebody that is in your network, call another wholesaler, call another investor, call a contractor, another flipper, have a very productive conversation with them. Because when you go and get this freaking thing locked up, you're going to be able to go talk to the people that you just talked to and built a relationship with right away. That I can't encourage enough is like getting out in the community, building those relationships and just using every ounce of your available like energy and time during the day to be communicating.
Absolutely. I mean, that used to be a huge thing. It's funny. I actually remember when driving time transitioned from being like my podcasting time to my networking time.
Yeah, your
And,
calling time.
Dude, I would all the time. Like I would actually structure my calls. Like if I go through and I had to plan a call with somebody, or I was planning to talk to like a wholesaler or even like a lender or whoever, I would look at when I was going to be driving to an appointment and I would say, yep, I'm going to call you at like 2:50, knowing that I was going to be leaving my house at like 2:48 to get to the house by 3:00, which is my appointment. And then the second I got in the car, I'm calling, our hard money lender to talk about this deal that we signed around the day before while I go to look at the next house.
Yep.
And I did that for years,
that's productivity right there.
It's super productive. And I would say it's an easier, like those networking calls are easier than trying to do like sales calls when you're in the car where you're not present and you're not giving the seller the respect that they need. But if you're talking to like another wholesaler, what they're looking to buy, or another investor, talking to a flipper, you're trying to raise money, you're trying to network, leverage that time, right? And I would honestly say to do that instead of doing things like going to lunch with people, which it takes an hour and a half or longer to have a conversation that you realistically could have on a 10-minute drive.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Like honestly.
Yeah. That's really good advice.
Yeah, it's fun to sort of see it like ramping up though. I'm super excited about it. And I will also say the thing that I have to fully acknowledge is the fact that, years ago, we went through those same learning curves that we just talked about here for the last 15 minutes, and we learned this market so well. That makes it admittedly so much easier for us to make decisions on these deals. Like there was one of them that came in that we got under contract and we assigned for a $30,000 fee. And when Cody went and like told me the basis of it, I was like, oh, would you offer like 100? He's like, yeah, exactly that. Because he's been on the same playing field. And I was like, okay, cool. I think I got a buyer for this. I'm going to send it to somebody. And I sent it over to somebody with like the numbers and stuff that I thought worked. And Cody goes, oh, did you tell him you wanted 130 for it? And I was like, yep, literally on the same wavelength, dude. Like we didn't talk about the middle thought process. We just all have enough collective experience here that we already knew what the numbers needed to be for it to make sense for somebody. And sure enough, found the buyer, done. The entire time spent on it was 15 minutes.
Totally. Yeah, we're back in the day, 4 or 5 years ago, you would have spent an hour like
easily
figuring those offers out. Yeah. We did the same thing on text. Cody texted you and I this morning. We each just comped a property in like 15 minutes. Like just because you know the neighborhood, you know what buyers and people are going to be looking for. And so it's just like, I think this is right where we could be at on ARV. It's like, okay, cool. Go make the offer.
Yeah. You can just eyeball it. That's the value of being in a singular market and being really good at it, especially if it's not a big market. I can tell you by the house number and the street that it's on, probably what the value ranges of the property. And as soon as you tell me the bed bath count, I know almost exactly what it's going to be worth.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It helps to, and like being at that expert level takes to look at a lot of properties and to spend all that time that you have as a new person, like sharpening your steel, like getting better at every aspect of it. Cause then you can get that speed lead and you can make those like calls super fast. Like, hey, this dude's ready to move. I'm ready to move.
Exactly. And that's why a big thing that we talk to scale folks about, what I encourage everybody to do is every opportunity that comes through, analyze it, run comps. If it does sell, follow it through the transaction process and see what it actually sells for. If it goes to another investor competition, follow up with that person and see what they bought it for. Right. Or like if somebody wholesales the property that you tried to get to somebody else, go and look them up on PropStream, look up the buyer, see what they bought the property for, because it's not going to show up on title with the assignment fee. Now you know what buyer's willing to pay in the area, you know what assignment fee your competition's getting, and you know how to analyze properties better for next time. You do that over a couple of years with a couple hundred deals, you're going to be a pro, right? And all of a sudden things will just be so much simpler for you.
Yeah. Yeah, great advice. Study your competition, see what they're sending out, see what they're doing, and you will learn a lot, and you don't have to spend a lot of money doing that. You can just see what's around you happening.
You don't have to spend a lot of money, and you don't have to do anything special. That's the other thing too, is people don't understand is what we do for our business, how we get a lot of our deals is the most like vanilla process. You, like at this point, I mean, we paid to join a mastermind to learn this 6 years ago, but now every single person has like free YouTube videos about how to go and pull these lists and send mail. And there's like these mass mailing companies that you can use. we like all these different platforms and AI and other bullshit that everyone's trying to upsell you on. You don't need any of that.
Don't need any, and none of it's worth shit. Just
No.
do the basic stuff. In fact, I bet you we do. Well, I know we do. We do significantly less like trickery or specialty shit with marketing than we did when we started. We just do the same thing over and over again every single month, and it seems to be working for us.
Yeah. It's literally just like jump shot and bounce pass basketball, dude.
Yes.
It's like, no, there's nothing sexy about the business at all, other than the fact that it is fast, it is efficient, and we have done it for long enough that we know what the KPIs are going to lead to success. And we just have to hit that same amount of marketing spend. We have the contacts to be able to move stuff a little bit faster, but that just comes from experience. You can't force that.
Yep, totally. And it's just, I guess if you want to do more, don't go and like seek out the new sexy tool. Just do more of what's worked.
Exactly.
And the quantity at which you have to do it is going to probably be much higher than you think you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just
how it is.
And just realize that every single person that goes online and talks about their new super sexy secret that is allowing their business to explode, it's because they have a really good affiliate relationship or they have some kind of owner partnership in that company.
Absolutely.
Right? Or they're like white labeling. It is not that it's actually that good. Looking at you, Josh and Tiffany High, right? Where every single new affiliate thing that they can grift money out of you on, they're going to promote, right?
Yeah.
Like that is the game.
Last month, it was SEO and optimization of your online platform. This month it's mail. They're all in on direct mail. Next month, it'll probably be back to texting.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. Right. Yeah. And so
don't worry about that shit. Just stay in your lane, do the simple stuff, keep doing more and more of it and get better than the next guy.
Yep. Absolutely. So cool. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. So we appreciate you guys listening. You should go and share this with your friends. Anyone who has interest in building a real estate business, this is a great show for them because I don't know. At least hopefully it sounds like we know what we're doing. I feel like we do.
Maybe.
Probably just sound like
talk a lot of shit about it anyways.
We do. We probably sound like pompous dicks, but that's fine because that is honestly kind of who I am. So if you don't like it, go listen to somebody else. Listen to somebody wholesome like Brandon Turner.
Yeah, he has nice things to say.
You know what?
Let me actually do something because if I was to ever meet Brandon, let me just say this: have I been in the same room as him? I feel like I've been near him, but I haven't personally met him. Sorry. But one thing I want to tell him to do is that the whole like homeless to millionaire like titling is over. Like, don't do that. Like, I scroll because I have his podcast on my list, and so I scroll through it. And I'm like, dude, come on, we don't need another dude who like did this to that, like that naming. I mean, that's just not interesting anymore.
No,
change it up, dog. Change it up.
It's especially not interesting when we are, still pretty close to like the most insane economic growth that we've ever seen as a country.
Right.
Like if there's a lot of ways they could have figured out. They could have just found saved up their $8 in 2016 and bought freaking Bitcoin. And now shit, they're rich. Good for them.
I know. It's just them. Yeah. It's overplayed. It's not interesting anymore. Let's do so. I'm not saying that the episodes aren't interesting. I'm saying the titling sucks. Don't do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell you what the title is of our show on Monday because it might be exactly that. No, I have no idea. I don't even think it's put together yet. We'll find out soon. But I'm going to laugh at it though.
Yeah. But, well, it's a bigger pockets syndrome, right? It's just like so boring. So boring.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, we'll appreciate y'all listening and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See y'all.